There's one thing that President William Ruto understands better than most people. That is the power of young men in politics. Because he used to be one of them.
Harambee! Sisi tunakuja tukisema Ruto one time. Ruto one time.
Acha nione kwa mikono watu ambao wanasema maandamano.
He has become an existential threat for this country and he must go as soon as possible.
Back in 1990s, Ruto was part of Youth for KANU 1992. That is YK92.
Ruto was one of the people who were preparing tea and meals for Kina Jirongo. And he used to bring the food and for the YK92 that is. And before people start eating, he would pray.
YK92 remains a thrilling topic, especially for Kenyans old enough to remember
the powerful youth movement that helped Daniel Arap Moi maintain political control. They mobilized voters, they influenced election, they showed how dangerous youth power can be in politics.
Ni campaign ambayo ilitumia vijana kwa njia mbaya.
Which is why today there is one young man who might be giving president endless headaches. And his name is none other than Dindi Nyoro.
Harambee! Haya.
You see, I'm making this video because this administration has demonstrated how far it's willing to go to silence dissent. And Dindi is really pushing the president right in the corner.
Na niwaambie yule aliwatuma, si mnajua nani aliwatuma? Ni mmoja. Etagwo atia?
Whispers around government say that something brutal is being planned against him. So, Dindi, consider this a message from your guardian angel. If you love this kind of content, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. Now let's get to the video.
I, Dindi Nyoro, having been elected a member of the National Assembly, so help me God.
You see, to understand the rise of Dindi Nyoro, we have to go way back. Because unlike many politicians who rise through connections or political dynasties,
Guy, anyway,
Dindi built his career step by step.
Chief campaigner wako hede odo campaign. Ndindi Nyoro.
His journey began when he approached Irungu Kangata, who was then the MP for Kiharu constituency. Nyoro asked something very simple: mentorship. He simply wanted to understand how leadership worked.
Tamanyena the day 2 for the MCA. Kamona kumageshagi kwa watu. The MCA. The Kajura. Kamona kumageshagi.
Kaka dede.
Kagura kaja. Dada kumenya ni atawe kaga.
Ngata gave him an opportunity to help manage the constituency's CDF funds.
Ndidashi da kiaruri. There are the to a CDF chair.
Wow.
Where Dindi Nyoro gained experience in public finance and governance. That experience shaped his political identity. Because Nyoro is not just a politician. He's trained in accounting and economics. Fields that focus on one critical thing: how money moves.
Jeff, there is no enough money anywhere, but there is also no small money. It depends with what you do with it.
When William Ruto was campaigning for the presidency,
I have been with you to many areas in Mount Kenya region.
Nyoro was one of his closest and strongest allies. He campaigned across the country. They traveled together. They shared political platforms.
Yesterday, tulikuwa na wewe kule Kiambu. I want to tell you and assure you, as a resident of Mount Kenya, as a resident and leader from Murang'a, from all the areas that I've gone, in fact, mimi naona hii ni gome yako.
But somewhere along the way, something changed.
Kuna hii kitu inaitwa infrastructure fund. Na nimesoma hiyo bill yote. Everything they are proposing to do is already being done by government without any bill or act.
Today, Nyoro has become one of the most vocal critics of government's policies, especially on debt and public borrowing.
There is only one thing in that fund ambayo serikali inataka kufanya. Ni wakiokota hii pesa ya Kenya Pipeline na ile ingine inauzwa Safaricom shares kwa hasara. Waweke pesa katika hiyo fund. Waitumie kama seed money
to borrow times 10 of that money.
He has repeatedly warned that Kenya risks burdening future generations through excessive borrowing. And that message has clearly reached State House.
We are not mad and we are not fools. We know what we are doing.
Yesterday, while the president was launching infrastructure fund, he made a remark about a young man who was criticizing his government's borrowing.
I saw a gentleman say that, William Ruto and the government, they have already pledged for 15 years money from our resources to build Talanta. Yes, we have. That's correct. That's what we have done.
Many observers immediately recognized who he was talking about. This was obviously Dindi. The criticism was subtle, but direct.
But I want to ask the question. The last 15 years, what has that fund done?
And the tension seems to be growing. For example, Nyoro was recently removed as chair of National Assembly Finance Committee, a powerful parliamentary position.
Alimesema ya kwamba Ndindi Nyoro alikuwa chairman na sasa sio chairman.
And just yesterday, we saw government officials attempt to interfere with activities in his own constituency, where he was launching some new offices that he had built with CDF money.
Unajua nikitoka Nairobi leo nikaambiwa ati yeye mheshimiwa, unajua kama ile ofisi nyingine tulifungua ya ACC ati pale mjini ya Murang'a East, ati kuna watu hapa wanasema ati hutakuja kufungua ofisi, ati sijui ni mande, ati kufungua ofisi ya chief ambayo tumejenga ama ya ACC ambayo tumejenga, ati unahitaji barua.
Nyoro's response was very simple.
Nikawaambia barua nahitaji ni moja, barua ya wadosi wa Kiharu.
He said these offices belong to the people of Kiharu, not the government, and he went ahead to open them anyway.
Na niwaambie yule aliwatuma, si mnajua nani aliwatuma? Ni mmoja. Etagwo atia? Hao mwenye alituma hawa polisi ati waanza tu vitisho. Niwaambie vita haiko hapa. Mgoje tu mtaona maneno. Mtajua mambo bado.
So then you understand that what makes Dindi different is not just his criticism, it is his credibility with young voters.
Na niwaeleze wenye mlituma hawa watu ati sijui wakuja wahangaisha wananchi wa Kiharu hapa. Ati hakuna ofisi itafunguliwa. Wewe mwenye uliwatuma, next time hapana tuma watu hapa. Next time ujilete hapa. Tuonane na wewe macho kwa macho. Hapa hakuna watu ya kutishatisha.
Because across Kenya, many young people are increasingly frustrated with economic hardships, unemployment, and rising debt. When Nyoro speaks about finance discipline and accountability, many young voters feel like he's speaking their language. That is what makes him politically dangerous. Not because he holds enormous power today, but because he represents a new generation of political leadership.
Wewe unapiga simu kutoka Nairobi ati ofisi isifunguliwe, ni sawa. Simu yako umepiga leo. Ofisi ya Kahuro hapa ya Mogoiri isifunguliwe. Na mimi nikapigiwa simu na wadosi wa Kenya, wananchi wa Kiharu. Sasa leo wewe angalia simu yako kutoka Nairobi na simu ya wadosi kutoka Mogoiri gani inafanya kazi?
Now, imagine something bigger. Imagine Nyoro aligning with other outspoken young leaders. People like Sifuna, people like Babu Owino, people like Caleb Amisi, Kibagendi. Basically, this whole team of Linda Mwananchi. Politicians who are increasingly speaking directly to young voters.
Bwana Ndindi Nyoro, wakati yako imefika kuungana na Edwin Sifuna na Babu Owino kuokoa Kenya.
That kind of coalition could significantly reshape the political conversation ahead of 2027 because youth voters are becoming the largest political force in Kenya.
Na tukisema DJ yako side yetu mnaona ni jokes. Jitaje kwa majina wakujue.
DJ Spider-Man aka the people's DJ #1 official.
So the real question is not whether Dindi Nyoro is a threat today. The real question is what happens if this young generation of politicians decide to move together. History tells us something important. that young political movements can change the direction of a country. And William Ruto knows this very well. He knows this more than anyone else.
Kila kijana wa Kenya, wale mmeketi huko, wale ambao you are not beneficiaries of this program ya business support, leo jioni tunafungua mtandao. This evening.
He wants 5 trillion shillings that is not approved by Parliament, that is not audited by the Auditor General, for bribing the people of Kenya.
That is why we urge Dindi to continue undressing this king. Let the king be naked. Let the king be naked. Let him be ashamed of his own nakedness. The people are with the one who is undressing the king. And the people will protect the undresser of the king, if that is even English. If you like this kind of videos, consider liking and subscribing so that the next time I upload, you'll surely be one of the first people to be served this kind of video. Bye.